Thank you so much for joining me again. I really didn't like that intro there, but it's unedited, so we're going to have to roll with it, aren't we? Thank you so much. I'm actually going to take these earphones out. It might affect the audio. Recording with earphones in, um, it just feels like I'm talking with my fingers in my ears, so I'm not doing that anymore. Here we are. I hope the sound is still fine. I'm sure it is. Right, good evening, or whenever you are listening to this. Thank you so much for joining me again. I'm really, really excited to be back. And this episode is going to be about how to deal with losing momentum, because it's very topical for me right now, in the sense that I'm still not back at work. I'm recording this on a Sunday night. And I get to be back at work tomorrow. Yay. I'm so excited. I actually put a Facebook status out the other night when I got back. So we've been in Center Parcs, Tom, my girls, me, my mum and my stepdad last week, Monday to Friday we were away. So we had an amazing time. I obviously didn't do any work while I was there. And then we came home and then we went into the weekend. And so still next to no work at all. The only thing I've done is I did a client session Friday night, which was great. But yeah, I haven't done any work. And I wrote a status Friday night on Facebook where I was like, I am so grateful to be able to have so much time off away from the business and not feel stressed or not feel worried about not being in the business or anything like that. And what this comes down to is safety. It feels safe for me, for my nervous system, to be away from the business. Well, that's a shame. I was recording footage of this and my phone has just died. Classic. But whatever, the podcast is going to have to take precedent because I'm not stopping and starting again. So what we're saying here, so the reason I can take 9 days away from the business, the reason I can take that much time away from the business and feel completely safe, relaxed, peaceful, calm, all the things, is because it's fine to do that. Like subconsciously and in my nervous system, it feels fine to do that. And that comes from feeling safe in the business. And you can't go away and feel relaxed if you do not feel safe in your business. You'll be worried about losing momentum, worried about, dramas happening whilst you're away from the business, worried about all sorts of things, or even coming back to a load of drama to sort out, like defaulting payments or client complaints, anything like that. I could see it happen so many times in spaces, not necessarily directly with clients, but I'm in a group coaching program myself as a client, and I have seen it so many times where shit hits the fan, basically, because for one reason or another, a business owner doesn't feel safe to take time off, or sometimes it's not even what's the word, like it's not for a holiday, it's like family illness or dramas that happen and that take you away from the business, and it's frustrating, but ultimately anything can happen. Oh fucking hell, I'm rambling. I'm out of practice, aren't I? Oh well, ultimately anything can happen, really, and you can stay feeling safe in your business so long as you've got that safety, and that safety comes from within. And so, yeah, I have had a great time away, really, really enjoyed my time with my family and my girls. It's been amazing. And I jumped on stories on Friday night before my client session to say basically that I've lost momentum. Of course I have. It's a fact of life, isn't it? Fact of, it's just a fact. I've lost momentum because I haven't been working. But that sort of, you'd probably have a connotation of that is negative. But actually, the reason I'm doing this session, this episode tonight, is to reframe and like talk about losing momentum just as a fact. It's neutral. It doesn't have to feel heavy or negative. It is what it is. And it's the same with anything in life. Whatever is happening just is. Okay. It's down to our perception of something that makes it positive or negative. So, yes, it's a fact that I've lost momentum because I've not been working for 7 days. I'm very grateful to my two VAs who have been working brilliantly as a team behind the scenes. I've seen the WhatsApp chat, I've seen the work that's been going on, and I'm so, so grateful for them. But I'm the one that goes on stories, or I'm the one that, has the conversations in the DMs, and I'm the one that, it's how I'm driving the business forward. So it's how I feel that kind of matters. It's my energy that matters most, right? And so, yeah, of course, I'm coming back from 7 days since I've last worked, feeling like I've lost momentum. But what is really, really key to know is that this feels neutral, okay? And when something feels neutral, I'm not attaching meaning to it. I'm not attaching negativity or heavy energy to it. It just is. I've lost momentum because I've not been working. And I'm so, so excited to be working again tomorrow. And that momentum will come. Momentum happens by just taking action. And so anytime that you feel like you've lost momentum, just release the pressure. First of all, release the pressure on yourself. And I don't know what this episode is going to be called yet, but you can kind of use the word momentum or mojo interchangeably. What to do to get back your mojo or your momentum? Well, first of all, release the pressure. Notice what stories you're telling yourself in your mind. Are you making it harder for yourself because you're bigging something up and making something more of a big deal? Ultimately, like, your brain is going to do that. Your brain wants to just keep you safe, doesn't care about your success or your goals or your vision or your confidence. It doesn't care about any of that. So if it's trying to protect you, and if what you're doing is self-sabotaging, like, I'm not talking about taking time away from your business in a holiday or anything like that. This could potentially be like you're hiding. If you're hiding from, let's say, showing up on stories or just not being visible in your business, then ultimately everything is down to subconscious programming. So if it doesn't feel safe for you to be visible, and you're having multiple, I'm not just saying a one-off, but let's say if you're spotting a pattern in your business where you're kind of just running away from, maybe you just show up on stories once and then not for ages, and then it gets bigger in your mind, this you make it a big deal. That's your brain trying to keep you safe. Because if you have a subconscious limiting belief at play, then you're going to notice yourself sabotaging because of that limiting belief at the root cause. So whether that is procrastinating on doing the thing that you want to do, or whether that is being a perfectionist and never ever getting around to doing something because ultimately you're stopping yourself because you're never going to make it perfect, or all the bullshit stories that go around in your mind. Ultimately, the things that the actions that you notice yourself taking, if they are self-sabotaging actions, then it's just your brain trying to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to do the thing that consciously you want to do, i.e., you have some, like, maybe let's say you're mid-launch and you've got massive imposter syndrome and you're not showing up, or maybe you've done a masterclass and then you've just literally ran away and not connected with any of the people that have watched your masterclass. You're not doing any following up. You are literally hiding and running away and you're self-sabotaging. Basically, it's just your subconscious trying to keep you safe and stopping you from doing the thing that you want to do, stopping you from reaching your goal, because your nervous system and your subconscious mind does not is not on board with that. It doesn't feel safe for you to do that. Whether that's because subconsciously you have a limiting belief where you fear success, or you fear failure, or you fear judgment, or you fear what's going to happen to you if you do blow up and your business is really successful. Maybe you don't believe that it's possible to do without something going wrong in your life, or, like your relationships being affected. There's all sorts of different things that could be at play subconsciously for you, but you will notice yourself sabotaging one way or another, because 95% of our actions are determined by your subconscious mind. And so you won't know you're doing it unless you start to get curious and you spot these patterns happening. But ultimately, everything is down to our subconscious programming. I can't even remember how I got to that. But yeah, let's say then, okay, what to do to get your mojo back. If you've noticed and you've spotted a pattern that you're hiding, or you've lost momentum, or whatever it is, like, make this episode relevant to you and your situations. But I feel like I'm back into I've warmed up now. I'm on a roll. It's been ages since I've been working, so it feels so good to be back. Anyways, release the pressure. Notice what stories are playing in your mind and question those. Okay. There are limitless possibilities for whatever story you're playing in for whatever the situation is. So choose a different story. Choose one that feels better. Okay. And just notice what your thought patterns are doing, because your brain is always listening to you. And your thoughts matter so much. And your thoughts aren't real. The thoughts aren't you. You can reframe those. You can choose one that feels better over and over and over and over again. It's hard, especially if you've got hardwired programming in your mind that has, like, for example, negative relationship with yourself, or you're very hard on yourself. All of these things, very hard, because you will have to constantly be reframing. But it's what is needed. If you want to get from where you are today to the vision in your mind, if you have a negative relationship with yourself, in the sense that the way you talk to yourself inside your mind is not very nice, that has to change. You are not going to get to the vision in your mind. You're not going to achieve success if you are not on your own team. Okay, that's so, so important. And so, yeah, it takes hard work, it takes effort, it takes consistency, it takes a lot of compassion for yourself, and reframing every negative thought over and over again. But ultimately, you want to release the pressure. Okay, stop setting yourself up. Stop setting your standards so high, for example. If you've not been on stories for ages, then just get yourself visible one way or another. Just take a small step, and you can build it up. Okay. Or, for example, if you want to go live and you've not been live for ages, don't set yourself up with, like, really, really high standards. Like, I noticed this happening in my business ages ago. I used to go live really regularly, and I wouldn't even have any notes at the time. Like, I just went live and shared whatever was on my heart. And then I watched some training in the group coaching that I was in, and it was about belief shifting lives, and how when you go live, you want to have a belief that your audience has, and you want to shift that belief on the live. So basically, you move them further down the buyer's journey, one step closer towards wanting to work with you. And I basically realized after a while, I hadn't been live for a while, and I questioned, like, what's going on? Like, never really found it hard to go live before. Why aren't I going live? And I got curious and asked myself, and I realized it's because I was putting pressure on myself to do a belief shifting live. And I was like, fuck that. Like, no, what's important is that I share what's on my heart, and I show up, like, authentically. And maybe sometimes I will shift a belief a little bit in a fluke way, maybe, I don't know. But what's important to me is showing up authentically and speaking my truth, speaking what's on my heart. And yeah, that might be a little bit less strategic than doing a belief shifting live, but basically, if I was trying to adhere to that standard, so basically somebody else's strategy. It wasn't aligned for me. I was putting pressure on myself and it just wasn't happening. So the minute I released that pressure, and I basically said to myself, I will go live if I feel inspired. And from then it's totally been fine. 9 times out of 10, if I feel inspired now, I'll do a podcast rather than live because podcast is my baby. But yeah, like ultimately I just don't put pressure on myself. Like some people do lives every Wednesday or whatever. I don't, because can't guarantee that I'm going to be inspired and have something to say. So basically you've got to do what works for you, and you have to trust yourself to take aligned action. So for me, it's going live or doing an unedited episode when I feel inspired, and not because I make myself, or it has to be a certain way. So yeah, release the pressure and notice the stories that are going on in your mind. And if they are not empowering, encouraging stories, then choose a different one that feels better. Next thing about what to do to get your mojo back is to ask yourself, what would be fun? Okay. And I find this one super easy to do because I lead my business with intuition and from my heart rather than my head. So I don't worry about like what is logical to do. Like, no, I just trust my intuition and lead with my heart. So it's so easy to say, like, I'm always aware whenever I'm giving advice on a podcast, I'm like, there's going to be listeners out there that can't action this because their limiting beliefs will hold themselves back. Thing is, with intuition, it's never logical. It never makes sense. Sometimes it's really random, like stuff from proper left field, but it doesn't have to be logical. Like your intuition is going to get you to the vision that you see in your mind in the fastest way, and it's not logical. So for me, how I run my business, I always ask myself what would be fun, and I trust in divine timing too. Like, for example, I have a masterclass in the pipelines, and I wanted to have that recorded ready to go before we went away to Center Parcs. But it didn't happen because I always ask myself what would be fun, and I check in with my intuition, and I always trust that. So even though my head strategically had planned to have this masterclass recorded before I went away, that wasn't in the plan in terms of my energy and my intuition. And so it didn't happen. And I trust in divine timing, like everything is divinely timed. And so it's coming, like that's on my to-do list for tomorrow, and I'm really excited, like to the point where, so I did this Facebook status on Friday where I was like, I am so grateful to be so relaxed and safe in my business. I love my family time and I love working, and I'm not working again until Monday, but it's all fine. But honestly, today, this morning, I was just like, I was irritable. And Tom will vouch for me for this. I have been grumpy as fuck pretty much most of the day. And it's hormones, mostly it's hormones, and it's really annoying. Like, I'm sure so many people as you're listening can relate to this when you're just irritable and you can't help it. And I know that something at play here was the fact that I was just really ready to work again. Not because like I felt unsafe, but because I love my work and I really miss working, and I can't wait to be back in the business tomorrow. It's been 9 days now, and like I'm ready. I love my work so much. I love my family time. But today, I needed to accept that I had another day, and by the afternoon, I was good. I was fine. But yeah, this morning I was so grumpy. Mostly hormones, but partially because I was just like, I just want to work. And so this might not be relevant, but it's on my heart, so I'm going to say it. But there was zero guilt with that feeling of wanting to work today. And even just being like, Tom went out for a dog walk and the girls were fighting, like they must be sick of the sight of each other as well. Like they've not seen any nursery friends for over a week, and they've literally just been in each other's pockets. They love each other dearly, but yeah, they fight. And to be honest, they would have fed off my energy this morning as well. So they were fighting, and just like being 1 minute being really annoying, then really clingy. And Tom came back from the dog walk, and I was just like, oh, need to just have 5 minutes to myself. And I went outside and I like did the washing on the line, like basically took the washing off the line, put it in the basket. And I just noticed, and I was like, hang on a second, Jenna. Doing the washing doesn't need to happen right now, right? You need a breather. You need 5 minutes to yourself. Fuck the washing. Like literally, I've been doing so much washing since Center Parks, and I was like, no, this is not what I need right now. And it was a really, really nice morning. So I just took the garden chair and sat in the garden in the sun. It was so nice. And I just texted Tom and I just said, I just need 5 minutes in the garden to myself. And he was like, that's fine, take the time you need. And I texted one of my friends and just like said, just need to write down how I'm feeling. Blah, mum, life is hard. But what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that, yes, I was a little bit stressy. And did I feel guilty about that? No, I didn't. And do I feel guilty that I'm really looking forward to be back at work tomorrow? No, I don't. Because there is 0 point to guilt. Like guilt is just such a heavy energy, and it's just completely pointless. Now, the reason I was thinking about this evening. I was waiting for the girls to go down, getting ready to record this podcast, waiting for them to go to sleep. And I was just thinking through a few things. And I was like, why? Because I know that, so many mums I speak to just feel guilty all the time. Like, I'm just like, what's that about? And it's down to, this is my feeling anyway, my perception from my experience of the work that I do as well. It's down to feeling good enough. Because when you feel good enough, just because you are, not good enough because you have done things the way you've wanted to in your business today, or being the mum that you wanted to be today. Like, no, good enough without any conditions. When you feel good enough, then there is no need to feel guilt unless you've done something on purpose that's out of order. But obviously I wasn't stressy this morning on purpose. Like, I was irritable, and I've apologized to Tom loads of times today, and he's like, it's fine, babes. And the girls, like, I had lovely cuddles with them. Nothing really was that much of a big deal. I was just a bit more stressy than normal. So yeah, I don't feel guilty about it because I feel good enough. All of the time, I feel good enough. And the words there are really important. I am good enough. Yeah. I'm not perfect. No one ever needs to be perfect. So if I was holding myself to standards of perfection, then of course I will always feel short. And then it's understandable why somebody might feel guilty for not meeting those standards. But ultimately, I always feel good enough. And so I didn't feel guilty for being a bit stressy this morning or feeling irritable. As long as it's not that way all the time. Like I said to Tom, I think it's the 1 day a month I was irritable today, and he kind of made a joke about just 1 day, but it's rare, like generally I'm in a good mood, and I just feel like 1 day of the month, maybe 2, maybe 3, where I'm just really fucking irritable. But it's hormones. And so yeah, that's life. It just is what it is, and we ride the wave. And yeah, I'm just going off on a tangent, rambling a little bit, as is standard for a Jenna unedited episode. Right, how are we doing? 6 minutes left. Okay, so what do I want to say? I want to say what to do when you get your mojo back. And next tip then is tune out of everybody else. Yeah, let's say that you have been away from your business, whether that's for a holiday or illness, or you've just been hiding a little bit and you want to come back. What is not going to be helpful is to be doom scrolling, basically comparing yourself to other people. Whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, it's not helpful. So tune out of everybody else, basically. And that will help, because if you want to, like, you want to be speaking from your heart, you want to be creating content, you want to be showing up in your business grounded, centered, speaking from your heart, and being like a match for yourself. And if you are consuming content from other people, not only is that going to be potentially making you feel a little bit lousy, especially if you've, like, quote unquote, lost your mojo or lost your momentum. It's just not helpful to be consuming content from other people. It's going to be, well, number one, it's going to be dragging you down a little bit, especially if you're comparing yourself. But number two, like, it's going to be making it harder for you to tap into yourself and speak from your heart. If you're consuming content from other people, maybe like you're telling yourself it's for inspiration, but actually no, well, this is my advice anyway. I would just be like, no, get off of Instagram, stop consuming content, and go for a really, really long walk, and just see what happens. See what happens, what content ideas come in, and act on that. And it's really nice to see, like, my clients in Powerhouse Portal going from a place of push energy when they first joined to just acting on inspiration, and how good that feels to be able to do that, and just do it the way I do it, and the way I teach. It just feels so much better. And the other thing I wanted to say is to be able to do your business for yourself, like, is so important. So many of us seek external validation, and this can actually be, probably going to run out of time here, but can actually be really, really hard when all you want is the recognition of a particular person in your life, whether that's a close friend or a parent or something like that. It's really, really hard if you do not get the recognition or what's the word? Acknowledgement or praise, or if they don't show an interest, any of those things. It's really hard. Because you expect others to treat you the way you'd like to be treated, right? And sometimes, like, you just expecting people to treat you the way you want to be treated, and when they fall short, especially if it's somebody that you really, really love, it's so disappointing, and it can really, really hurt. But what you want to do is you want to turn your attention inwards again, and you want to do it for yourself. And it doesn't matter. Let's say, for example, this has come up in a few conversations recently with my clients, and it's like, you want your friends or your family members to recognize what you're doing, show an interest, ask you questions, or just show an interest. And what if they don't? What if they watch your stories but never comment on or never ask you about your business? It's hard, because especially if you're new in your business, really, really hard. But ultimately, other people's actions are a reflection of what's going on for them. Okay, so if somebody can't ask you or show an interest in your business, that says a lot. But it says a lot about them and not you. So when you are putting so much onto wanting people to be a certain way, rather than just releasing all of that pressure, just accepting the situation for what it is, and just turning your attention back inwards, love yourself, praise yourself, validate yourself, that feels so much better than constantly wishing it were another way with that one person who just is not being the way they want to be. Okay. So when you want to get your mojo back, or you're being affected by other people's actions, then turn your attention inwards, validate yourself, and show up and do it for yourself. Okay. But ultimately, like I said earlier, like, all of this stuff, I really, really hope is helpful to you. But spot the patterns, look and get curious about what's going on in your life, and spot the patterns, because if there are patterns where you are repeatedly hiding, for example, or repeatedly capping your income, like, not on purpose, but you're reaching a certain level and not getting beyond it, you've reached basically what we call an upper limit, or you're never feeling safe in your business. You're thinking it's all just going to end. Like you just never feel like it's comfortable and reliable and safe. Or you don't feel like you can stop working because it's going to fall apart if you stop working. Basically, all those things, you need to find safety, and that safety is found from within by doing the inner work. More coming next week and the masterclass very soon. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Bigger Than You podcast with your host, Jenna Holloway. If this episode has been valuable to you, please share it with a friend or leave a review.